Are you thinking about moving to St. Petersburg, Florida, but you're not really sure if it's actually the right community for you to move to? Well, today let's discuss if those pros actually can outweigh some of the cons that you need to take into consideration. By the way, my name is Caitlin Nelson. I'm a realtor here with St. Petersburg Living. So if you're here to check out more things about St. Pete and Tampa Bay, just know we service from the Berg to the Bay. With your community questions, market updates, and much more, we're always here. So check out my description below. My phone number, email, and calendar link is in there. I would love to schedule a one-on-one with you to discuss whatever you're buying, selling, or just community needs may be. Today, we're gonna go over pros and cons of living in St. Pete. While it's easy to look at all the pros in our beautiful community here, you definitely need to take into consideration some of the big cons, because for some people, that might make your decision easier on whether or not you decide to move here. Are those cons worth it, and do they outweigh the pros for you? So let's get into it. When it comes to living in St. Petersburg, there are a lot of pros. Being someone that recently moved here back in 2023, I've come to find out what a lot of these pros are and what some of the cons are too. So to go ahead and jump right into things, number one pro for me is that this is the sunshine city. So we have the most consecutive days of sunshine pretty much all around the United States. With that being said, and being right next to those Gulf Coast beaches, award-winning ones with beautiful water, it's really hard not to have that top of mind when moving here. And it is a pro. So with those consecutive sunny days, you're able to head over to the beach and definitely enjoy the weather. We have warm weather almost year round. You know, a little bit of winter. From somebody who's from North Carolina, I don't consider our winters to be too heck of a lot here. There's a lot of beaches too. So we have everything from St. Pete Beach, we have Clearwater Beach, and everything in between. So Madeira Beach, Indian Shores, Reddington, and so forth. There's so many different beaches to explore here that it really makes it fun too, because being located in St. Petersburg yourself in Pinellas County, you can drive up more north or more south, and more north going towards Clearwater and more south going towards Bradenton and Sarasota, which have some really nice beaches too. Even drive an hour and you're pretty much in paradise next to Anna Marie Island and Siesta Key. Now, while that sunshine is fun, let's get into our first con. Probably the most biggest and obvious con that we have here in St. Petersburg is going to be our ability to flood with those flash floodings and storm surge. We are off of Tampa and surrounded by water 360 pretty much. So with that being said, we are super prone and in hazard for flooding, especially with hurricanes. We have that risk of getting storm surge and flash flooding. Now, while this is a huge issue and a big issue that we just saw back with the Hurricane Idalia back in 2023, that was one hurricane that affected St. Pete more than they usually do. That was massive, and so many people unfortunately had bad flooding in their homes and they're still recovering from it. It was over 1,500 homes in some of our most prominent neighborhoods that people pay a lot of money for, to be on that waterfront or to be right there by those beautiful views. Obviously, they pay it for a reason, and the community is strong, so they're able to come back from something with that. But it doesn't come without a lot of work and repercussions going through your flood insurance and so forth to get back on your feet after a natural disaster. Yes, we have the flooding, but historically speaking, hurricanes don't typically hit St. Pete the way that they do compared to some of these other coastal towns. If you look it up, I would say, even more Miami is more susceptible to getting hit bad by a hurricane. We tend to dodge it for the most part. And of course, we can't predict the future and more hurricanes can hit, but what you can do is you can prepare if that's still going to not deter you from wanting to live here. The good news is that we do have parts of town that have higher elevation. So really talk to whoever it may be, whether it's a local friend in the community that knows their area around, or even a trusted realtor, on what some areas are that are known to have, survived some of those bad floods. there's areas still within those flood zones that have a little bit of a higher elevation. There are homes that, the first floor up is where the house starts. So it's on stilts, or the first floor is just the garage. So there are ways to avoid that flooding, but definitely that is a con to St. Pete that you cannot avoid. The second pro to living in St. Pete has to be our diverse and unique neighborhoods. We have a lot of different quaint and very charming neighborhoods. And a lot of this is linked to the past, the history behind St. Pete, which if you are thinking about moving here, definitely check some of that out. Look it up online, because a lot of the past history of our community has to deal with our current architecture. And there's a lot of uniqueness to our homes because of that. The 19th century was influenced by a lot of fine art and Victorian-styled homes, which we still see in a lot of our properties today. The 20th century brought a lot of growth and development to our city. So with that, it became more styles of homes popping up in different architectural designs. So we started to see a lot of Art Deco, Art Moderne, and some mid-century modern homes, which again, today, we still see in a lot of these homes that have been able to have their history maintained in them. This is a major pro. If you are looking for something with more character and more uniqueness, you're gonna find that in St. Pete. A lot of the beauty of these homes have been maintained in the history that we've been able to kind of just flare up and spruce up. A lot of investors have spent time and money buying these properties and sprucing them up so they maintain that original character and flair to them. A lot of the history can be seen in some of our community's most loved neighborhoods. Two of mine being Old Northeast and Old Southeast. You see all of those different types of really unique homes and a lot of character in those prime neighborhoods. And I mean, the neighborhoods itself are just so quaint and community driven. Each one has strong community ties, local parks, and they're in just a really good area. One of my favorite side factors of these neighborhoods is that they're lined by these beautiful brick paved streets, which to me is a price tag that is worth paying. That pro leads me to our next con, being that a lot of our houses are older historic homes. And yes, the beauty is awesome, but let's talk about why that is a con in itself. The fact that a lot of these homes are older is gonna come with sometimes a laundry list of problems. And do you wanna deal with those problems when you're buying a house? Do you have the budget to deal with those problems? And is it worth buying a historic home, or would you rather lean towards that new construction or newer house? So when it comes to these houses that are older, you're gonna run into some issues. Just to name a few: plumbing issues, electrical issues, foundation issues. The foundation may have cracks in the drywall. I mean, anything as far as tree roots growing under the foundation. So many things that can happen over the course of a long span of time. That is your foundational issues. The floors, you might walk in and they might be renovated, but they might have unevenness in them. And that's because the foundation of the house has settled. And there's not too much you can do about that. So you always have to take into consideration that there's gonna be problems with an older home. Also, you're gonna have some wood rot and deteriorating materials. Is that worth it to you? A lot of this can be taken care of. Of course, the price tag comes along with that. So what I do recommend, if those old homes are worth it to you, then make sure you get a really good home inspection so that you're able to point out all of the issues that this property may have. And with that, if you are wanting to buy one of those houses, make sure to discuss with your realtor a really good and strategic plan of a list of repairs you're going to request from these sellers, unless they're going to give you a credit that is worthwhile in your money, knowing that you're going to buy this house and you're going to be able to fix those repairs yourself. Because if you don't, then you buy a house and you have a whole lot of things to fix. So again, that's a con to having an older house here in St. Pete. That brings me to our third pro. We are a very vibrant community with offerings to really suit most people's interests. Something that's awesome about St. Pete is that we are home to various cultural and ethnic backgrounds. So with that, it has made our community really vibrant and really diverse. And you'll see that we also have a lot of offerings from A to Z, really. I feel like there is enough here to entertain almost anyone and to allow someone to get into the community, feel welcomed, and find their little niche in our home. Some of those offerings that we have in St. Pete are going to be in museums. We have the Dolly Museum, we have the Museum of History, the Museum of Fine Arts, and even Sunken Gardens, which I don't know if we can consider that a museum, but it's a beautiful area to go in and explore. So we have those museum type scenes. What we also have is performing art scenes. We have the St. Petersburg Theater where there's great shows held there. And we also have different venues where comedy shows are held. Besides from that, we also have an abundance of live music. Walk into your local dive bar and chances are you can catch somebody playing there, but we also have those big name artists coming here too, to Janus Live venue where lots of different artists are held there in different concerts, as well as our brand new pavilion they just added to the St. Petersburg Pier, which I haven't been myself, but it looks awesome and it's right across the street from a whole row of restaurants. So again, we have that live music, we have the performing arts, we have the museums, and not to mention, we have so many talented local artists and craftsmen that they continue to bring the beauty into our city with all of the art that they create on a day-to-day basis. For those that are outdoorsy, we have all sorts of groups. I personally am a very active person. I like group workout classes. We have an array from, again, A to Z, whatever you can think of, the workout classes there, whether it be in an actual gym, whether it be outside, or whether it be a community group that gets together to run, to bike, to roller skate, to paddleboard, to kayak. Really, we have a strong emphasis on our outdoor activities and our fitness activities, which is great. We also have so many parks, so many trails, and all these areas where you can really utilize the outdoors of St. Pete. Really, at the end of the day, there's offerings for almost anybody here. And not to mention, St. Pete is becoming a hub for all the foodies out there. We have new restaurants emerging, not on a daily basis, but close enough. All down Beach Drive, all down Central. We have so many different restaurants. We have breweries, we have dive bars, we have more unique craft cocktail bars. So for the foodies, for the people that like those fun cocktails, all of that is at your disposal so easily, and so many unique places to say the least. Not those big franchisees. We have super unique and locally owned places that I could go on about for days, because personally, I'm a foodie and I like to go explore all of them. And it's something that's super big to me when moving to an area, because I want to know, especially my age, I like to go out and I like to explore those places. Is that going to be something where I explore 3 places and there's nowhere else to go? That's definitely not the issue here. And if it becomes one, you drive 15, 30 minutes over to Tampa, depending where you live in St. Pete, and you have a whole new world over there. That's going to bring me to our last con of this video. And that is that we do get some congested traffic here. And we do have some parking issues in this city, to say the least. And personally, I think some of the drivers here are not the best. That might be all of Florida. I mean, it might be everywhere for all I know. Maybe I think I'm a good driver. I might not be. But from my experience, the roads here, the road scene is not my thing, which is a good place that you can walk to a lot of places. Traffic isn't the worst, if I'm being honest. There's worse traffic. I lived in Orlando. I thought the traffic there was terrible. Traffic in Miami gets really, really bad. Even the traffic in Tampa is worse than the traffic in St. Pete. However, you do need to take this traffic into consideration, because are you living in St. Pete and commuting to Tampa? A lot of people do for work. So that commutes during rush hour. Is that traffic too much to deter you from living in St. Pete? Would Tampa be a better place for you so you are closer to home? Because I-275, the Franklin Howard Bridge, and the Gandy Boulevard Bridge, those access points from Tampa to St. Pete are the places that get congested. Now, it's nothing too crazy, like I said. Whether it adds 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and I would say maybe worst case, longer than that, 40 minutes, is that going to be an issue for you? Does that change if you're going to want to live here? At the end of the day, though, Pinellas County, which is St. Petersburg, has far less traffic concerns than Hillsborough does, which is the Tampa Bay area. While traffic is a slight issue, I would say what's more relevant of an issue here in St. Pete is going to be our parking issue. Personally, I wasn't used to it when I first moved here. Pretty much anywhere you go, there's going to be very, very limited parking. So that means you might be driving for a little bit, parking in a destination, and then walking to wherever you may be going. Not a huge deal, but just take that into consideration, knowing that's definitely an issue here. While we do find parking, it takes us a little longer, and we do have to pay for it on the Park mobile app. It's super easy. You can scan the barcode, and it's really relatively cheap. It's like $3 for 2 hours and so forth. It's just fewer and farther between finding those parking, especially when you're more downtown. Now, when you're away from the downtown, we don't have that issue as much, but like any city, parking can be hard, but once you park and get out to explore the city, it's definitely worth it. If you just happen to stumble across this video, or maybe you were searching for what those pros and cons are to live in St. Petersburg, I'm glad you made it here regardless. Let me know down in those comments below what you thought of everything. Do you agree with the pros? Do you agree with the cons? And did you learn anything new and valuable to help with your decision on whether or not living in St. Pete might be the right place for you? Let me know what some pros and cons are of where you currently live. What makes it great and what makes it not so great? As a reminder, I'm a local realtor, Caitlin Nelson with St. Petersburg Living. We service from the Berg to the Bay and all the lovely communities in between. I would love to have you here again to check out more videos about our community and stay informed with me, especially if you are thinking about buying, selling, or investing in the St. Pete or Greater Tampa Bay area. Check out that description below. Everything's linked there. You can call, you can text me, you can email, or even schedule that calendar link for a more personalized one-on-one meeting with me.